I knew it. I shouldn't have been invited here tonight. You should have included me out. Because the truth, I must confess, is unbecoming to a respectable spiritual audience that loves to process and to work on ourselves with such studious agony that even the angels take notes for their doctoral dissertations. I must tell you what I am and what you are when resentment begins to itch. We become judge, jury, prosecutor, stenographer. And if we can get away with it without moving our lips, executioner, then we go home and call it prayer. In my better moments, I have even drafted opening statements in the shower. And if that doesn't qualify me for my next incarnation as a district attorney, I don't know what will. But, beloved, the problem is not that we haven't composed brilliant closing arguments. The problem is that there's a courtroom at all. Judge not, that ye be not judged, the Master said. And we have politely agreed, while reserving a small annex of the courthouse for special cases, which unfortunately means all of them. Let's twist that Bible upside down just long enough to read it right side up. You and I do not need better thoughts about our offenders, improved affirmations about our virtue, or more Baroque retellings of the story with ourselves painted in softer morning light. We need the end of judgment. Withdraw the verdict. Step out of the gallery. Let the bailiff turn off the lights and lock the door. Be still and know that I am God. Not be clever and think a more pious thought. Not be tenacious and hold your breath until your enemy repents. Stillness, not strategy. Forgiveness, not favorable rulings. I say, not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. The arithmetic of Christ is not keeping score until the other side learns its lesson. It is setting down the chalk and walking out of the math class altogether. Do you think resentment lives by its own power? Do you think it has a bloodstream, a pantry, a trust fund? Do you think the God self of us, the one, life, is pouring gasoline on your inner fire so you can roast your neighbor's reputation and serve it with a side of righteousness? Or is it possible, don't flinch now, that resentment breathes because we keep handing it our breath? It sits on a throne because we kneel and crown it with our attention. It pronounces sentence because we, humanhood, give it a bench to sit on and a gavel to pound. Which is it? If God is the only selfhood, what is this judge self we enthrone within? A costume, a noisy prop, a sense of selfhood apart from God, rehearsing tragedy and calling it justice. I offer you a very unromantic promise, and I offer it with as much stern gentleness as I can muster. In 10 minutes of stillness, 10 minutes in which you refuse to prosecute or defend, 10 minutes in which you do not massage your narrative, not even with spiritual lotion, resentment will loosen. Not because you became nicer, not because the facts changed, not because the other fellow developed sudden sainthood in the produce aisle, but because judgment starved when you stopped feeding it. Humanly, this will look cold-blooded. No gestures, no speeches, no emotional confetti, and inwardly it will be overheated with love for God and man, because for once you will not be living inside the courtroom, you will be outside of it, using the mind as an instrument rather than a tomb. Let me say it plainly, so plainly that even my accountant friends will not need to add it up twice. You don't need new thoughts, you need the end of judgment. Die daily to the magistrate you imagine yourself to be. Leave your robe on the chair. Step out of the robe. The entire edifice of condemnation in you exists by your consent, and it collapses the instant you withdraw that consent. Do you think spirit needs your verdict to govern its universe? Or will you, beginning tonight, quietly, with a hint of humor at your own former cleverness, lay down the gavel and discover that the God self, in stillness, is already the only law and the only love? Now, if we're going to have any honesty at all, we must look under the table where the real contract is signed. The hidden bargain is simple and sordid. Humanhood, the sense of a little self living apart from God, survives by needing someone to be wrong. It must have a defendant to keep its story breathing. Me and you, right and wrong, injured and injurer. If no one is guilty, personal self begins to die of malnutrition. It has nothing to ruminate, nothing to defend, nothing to polish with righteous spit. I and my Father are one, says the Master. Then what is this I and my grievance are one that we recite under our breath? Do you think the God self of us needs a culprit to feel safe in its own universe? Or is it only the little actor in the costume of humanhood that requires a stage enemy to keep the spotlight from dimming? Let's expose the emotional plumbing. Resentment feels like armor, like a savings account of justice we can draw on when the day gets rough. It whispers, this is your boundary. This is your proof you were decent and they were not. Hold it tight and you will be safe. But look, feel the interest rate. What it really pays out is heat contraction, the small heroic drama of a self that must be offended to be real. If the offense evaporates, who are you then? A nobody? Ah, there's the terror. Humanhood is not afraid of villains. It is afraid of vanishing. Better a cramped self with a holy wound than no self at all, says the bargain. But he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Lose the life of being the wounded magistrate, and you find life, capital L, without defendant or gavel. Let me ask you as plainly as I can, and forgive the relentless arithmetic. If God be infinite, where exactly do you plan to store the other who can steal your peace? In what closet of infinity do you hide an offender with independent power? If God is your life, your breath, your animating center, what weather pattern has another man's mood, another woman's word to govern your inner climate? If God be for us, who can be against us? Either that is true in the marrow, or it is a pretty sentence we embroider on pillows while clutching our case files to the chest. You see, resentment is a hypnosis. We consent to self-hypnosis, inexpensive and terribly costly. The mind repeats the transcript, the body obeys the stenography. You replay the scene, the sigh, the flinch, the magnificent closing argument, and the pulse quickens on cue. The jaw rehearses its familiar sermon. The reason the case continues is embarrassingly ordinary. We keep calling witnesses. And then she said, and then he did, and I felt, each testimony swears us in again as the aggrieved party. Who is the court reporter? You are. Who is the prosecuting attorney? You are. Who is the judge peering over the glasses? You know the answer. Who is he that condemneth? The Scripture asks. In humanhood, I am in Christ. It is Christ that died, yea, rather that is risen again. Condemnation finds no oxygen. Now, I am not asking you to gild over abuse or repaint mischief as holiness. Outwardly, we may say no. We may set the clear boundary, cold-blooded, as I like to say. Inwardly, we refuse the warmth of hatred, overheated only with love for God and man. Resist not evil is not a call to become a doormat. It is a refusal to become a doormat to our own judgment. To resist evil mentally is to be hypnotized by it, to build it a memorial in thought. To stand in God is to have no evil to resist. Do you think the sun argues with a shadow, or does it shine and dissolve the premise? So here is the diagnosis before we proceed to the cure. Resentment persists because humanhood needs a guilty party to authenticate separation. If there is no them to blame, there is only one to be one life, one self, one love. And this is intolerable to the small self that prefers a rough neighborhood with familiar enemies to an open country without fences. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He did not say, Father, forgive me when they start behaving. He stood where there were no defendants, only sons and daughters who had forgotten themselves. If we would be healed, we must die daily to the defendant-making machine in us. Put it gently out of business. Let the docket fall to the floor. And if your lips try to convene court again, mine are gifted at that smile a little at your cleverness. And remember, there is no other in God, and there is no courtroom in the infinite. Now we come to the unlovely, liberating heart of it. Forgiveness is not rehabilitation for your offender, an apology you wrench from their reluctant lips, or even a warm feeling in your chest when you see them buying peaches. Forgiveness is the moment you stop participating in inner condemnation. It is not changing the facts on the ground. It is changing the jurisdiction of your consciousness. Outwardly, you may keep a boundary cold-blooded, if need be. Inwardly, you refuse the warmth of hatred. That is the whole model. Ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you. Rephrase it in our language tonight. You've been trained to pay pain back with inner punishment. I tell you, withdraw your consent from punishing anyone in your mind 70 times 7 because the judge seat is not yours. But what am I to do with what they did, you ask? Do not decorate it. Do not deny it. Do not drape it in lace. Do not, above all, enshrine it in the temple of your attention. If a dog barks, must the son bark back for fairness' sake? If a storm passes, do you write the storm a letter of correction? You may speak plainly. You may take action. You may leave the room. But within, there must be no stone in the hand. He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone. Humanhood loves that line until it realizes the stones it throws most freely are the invisible ones, verdicts shaped in thought, sentences carried out in secret heat. Forgiveness lays down those stones, not because the accused became adorable, but because you remembered whose court this is. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Translate it, justice is God's nature, not your night job. Close the little branch bank of personal retribution. You were never licensed to issue those drafts. Let me press you as a friend who has baked in his own oven. Do you want to be right or do you want to be free? And if freedom is your true hunger, why do you keep bringing sandwiches to the prosecutor in your head? Who profits when you rehearse the case at 2 a.m.? Does God grow larger or does the small self enjoy a midnight snack? Each resentful thought that knocks is not an invitation to litigate. It is an altar call to die daily to the one in you who must be right to remain existent. Will you die a little now, or live a little longer as an amateur judge with a tired gavel? Which is it? He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Each time you refuse to feed that internal magistrate, a morsel of humanhood dissolves, and the God self of you stands a little clearer, a little taller, without noise. Do not confuse this with emotional reconciliation. You may never share a tea, never exchange a Christmas card, never trust again where trust would be foolish. That is not our subject. Our subject is the jurisdiction of your soul. The Christ way does not ask you to like an act or approve a pattern. It asks you to stop holding a person in the prison of your condemnation. Open the cell by withdrawing your attention from the role of warden. If they walk out and repeat their mischief, you can still be clear, still be firm, still be outwardly cold-blooded, but inwardly overheated with love for God and man, because no one is being kept in your dungeon. Judge not that ye be not judged is not etiquette. It is spiritual physics. The beam you measure with is the beam you see by. Change the measure, and your vision changes with it. Let's twist that Bible upside down just long enough to wear it correctly. 70 times 7 is not arithmetic. It is a style of being. It means as many times as the thought appears, that many times you do not join the prosecution. As many times as the inner voice cries, but look at the facts, that many times you choose the greater fact. If God be for us, who can be against us? As many times as the story begs for one more retelling, that many times you silently retire from the bench and accept your demotion, glorious demotion, to witness for God alone. No one, no one, not even your favorite offender is worth the price of your union with the One. So, forgiveness, hear it as plainly as I can say it, is the quiet, uncompromising end of your participation in condemnation, not once, not twice, but as a habit of being. It is the interior adjournment of court, the locking of doors, the lights out. You will know you have withdrawn the verdict when the body stops obeying the old stenography, when the jaw unclenches without a peace treaty, when the heart is insulated not from people but from punishment. In that insulation, love ceases to be emotional pity and becomes the clear, universal warmth that neither flatters nor burns, and you will discover, to your shock and to your relief, that nothing collapsed but the little throne you sat on. God did not need your sentence to govern his universe. He needed only your silence to reveal that he already does. So let us get embarrassingly practical. If forgiveness is adjournment, how do we turn off the lights in that courtroom for 10 minutes without burning down the building? When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, not a broom closet with incense, the inner room where no witness can be called and no stenographer can hear you. Pick an ordinary chair, an unglamorous corner. Sit as if you are not trying to become spiritual, just available, undefended, shoulders unheroic, jaw not negotiating a treaty, hands resting as if you have nothing to hold and nothing to hurl, eyes soft closed if you like, half closed if that is easier. This is a practice in which we stop performing for our own piety. Breathe the kind of breath that doesn't brag about how deep it is. 5 breaths if you must count, then forget the counting. Be still and know that I am God. Not be impressive, not be clever. Be still. Now, a rule so simple the mind will be insulted by it. Do not analyze the story. Do not fix the character called you. Do not improve your offender into an angel or yourself into a better judge in a nicer robe. The practice is not thinking. It is resting outside the trial. Your only task, hear me, is to notice the impulse to judge and let it fall short of speech inside. That last 3 feet between the thoughts rise and the mouth of your mind is where the miracle happens. Let the gavel lift and never land. Take no thought, the Master said. Take no thought for or against. Thought may parade with banners. Let it march past without joining the band. Because the mind, bless its litigious little heart, will try to help. Perhaps if we outline the case once more purely for clarity. When you sense the prosecution resuming, do not wrestle. Do not quote a paragraph at it. Do not build a stronger argument for peace. Give yourself a single interior pivot, no more and no less, and use it only when the court stirs. I withdraw the verdict. Whisper it inwardly as you would sign your name to a dismissal. Not an affirmation to paint over pain, but a change of jurisdiction. In that instant, you are not making a better judgment. You are removing your consent from judging at all. You step off the bench. You return the gavel to the shelf. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. Translated into this moment, government is God's. I resign my night shift. Do you think spirit requires your commentary to maintain order? Do you think the sea obeyed because the disciples listed all the reasons it ought to calm? Peace, be still was not a lecture. It was authority without argument. Here, too, the peace comes not by convincing the mind, but by ceasing to convene court. If the body fidgets, let it scratch once and return. We are not making a museum of posture. If a memory flares, let it glow and cool without fanning it with your breath. outwardly cold-blooded, no dramatics, inwardly overheated with love for God and man because you are not holding anyone to the flame. Now let me rescue you from the most popular failure. Success here is not bliss, not fireworks, not angels auditioning for your approval. Success is adjournment, the cessation, 3 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 of the inner trial. If in your 10 minutes there is even a brief and unmistakable pause in the prosecution, no narrative speaking, no witnesses lining up, mark it, that silence is evidence of a different government within. The peace of God which passeth all understanding does not apply for your understanding's approval. It arrives when understanding stops cross-examining. Do not measure by feeling. Measure by the absence of inner sentencing. When the jaw notices it has nothing to clench, when the breath discovers it is not on guard duty, when the heart feels insulated not from people but from punishment, you have touched the edge of the real. So give it 10 unglamorous minutes. Sit, available and undefended. Refuse analysis, refuse improvement projects, refuse forced calm. When the mind resumes its clever work, pivot once. I withdraw the verdict. Then rest outside the trial. 10 seconds of that rest is a seed, and seeds, I'm told, do not look like forests until they do. For the first breath, only the first. Let it be as ordinary as finding an empty chair and sitting down. No technique, no heroics, no spiritual chest expansion to impress the cherubim. Just breathing as the body breathes when no one is watching. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. This return is not to a better argument. It is to the room within where the court is not in session, one unadvertised breath, then another of the same kind. Now, be prepared, because humanhood is a hard-working clerk. The mind will bring exhibits, a photograph of the email, a snippet of tone, a highlight reel of perfect comebacks you didn't say, and a few you did poorly. It will slide them across the table like a proud attorney. Your work is not to rebut. Your work is to cease appointing any of it as evidence. Who made that image authoritative? By whose seal is that phrase an order? If a cloud passes, must the sky write a counterbrief? Let the parade go by. You are not the marching band. You are the street it marches on. Ask yourself, and do not hurry to answer. Must you answer every thought? Must you defend yourself to an inner attorney who never sleeps, never eats, and bills by the minute, who subpoenaed you? Let your communication be, yea, yea, nay, nay, try this. When the thought demands a reply, let your inward answer be a simple no, not to the person, not to life, but to the appointment of that thought as judge. No cross-examination, no alibi, no clever speech, just the refusal to climb back onto the bench. Here you can use the breath not as a technique to master, but as the most boring, blessed place to rest your gaze. The body knows how to inhale, it knows how to exhale. You are not the little bellows keeper of God. Feel one breath complete itself. In that small completion there is a seam, a quiet intermission. The moment a thought ends, before the next one claims the stage, linger in the aisle. Don't chase, don't fetch. Rest in the interval. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Let all the earth of you, every busy nation of opinion, keep silence for the length of a blink. I must confess, my first 2 minutes used to be a circus, 3 rings, lights, a popcorn vendor named Regret, and my Aunt Mildred riding an elephant of what if. I tried wrestling the elephant and only succeeded in getting trampled politely. Then I discovered I don't have to sell tickets. Thoughts can perform. I don't have to clap. They can take a bow. I don't have to crown the headliner. My sheep hear my voice, said the master. That implies there are other voices, and sheep do not debate with wolves. They know and move on. Each time the mind lifts a gavel in those first minutes, sign once, I withdraw the verdict. Then let the hand fall open again on the chair arm. This is not nonchalance, it is obedience. Take no thought for your life does not mean abandon wisdom. It means refuse to nourish the machinery that prints indictments. The first victory is not silence without thoughts, it is thoughts without authority. Let them appear as birds cross a window. Do you sue a bird for trespass, or do you notice the opening of the sky where it flew? Attend again to the breath ending. Feel the tiny hush before the next wave. That hush is the inner sanctuary's door jamb. Lean there, not with strain, but with recognition. If another exhibit arrives, smile at the diligence of your inner clerk such industry, and decline promotion back to judge. 10, 20, 30 seconds of this refusal, stitched together by ordinary breaths, and already the courtroom lights are dimming, not by conquest, not by argument, by non-participation. Be still, and without wrestling, no. Now, as we slip past the second minute, try a small holy mischief. Step outside the body and look at it as you would a faithful instrument. Useful, obedient, never yourself. It's a tomb if you're living inside of it. It's only a body if you're outside using it as an instrument. In Him we live and move and have our being. Not in the jaw, not in the chest, in Him. So from just outside, as if you had taken one polite step to the side, let your gaze soften over this instrument and notice where the heat sits when resentment has been paid in advance. Is it in the hinge of the jaw, bargaining with imaginary comeback? Is it a weight on the breastbone as if carrying an anvil under a shirt? Is it a tightness in the belly, filing grievances in triplicate like a very diligent clerk? Let sensation be sensation. Do not name it mine. Who signed the deed? Where is the title that says, this tightness is me? You won't find it. Do you think it is the God self of you that tightens the jaw to hold a thought in custody? Or is it the little magistrate in costume rehearsing another scene? Be simple now. Instead of saying, my anger, say, warmth in the throat. Instead of my hurt, say, pressure over the heart. Do you see? You have removed the badge from the sensation. You have declined to deputize it as identity. Ye are the temple of the living God. The temple is where presence abides. It is not the creak of a door or the echo on a step. The sounds belong to the building. The life belongs to God. Stay one breath longer outside, looking kindly upon this instrument. If a muscle begs to be seen, let it be seen as weather over a field. The field is not the storm, it is that upon which weather happens. Now try on the truth that overturns the bargain. Resentment is a costume, not a self. It has a robe righteousness, it has a wig memory, it has a prop, a gavel of old sentences. But it is a prop room, not a person. Put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, the Scripture says, which means equally, take off the judge's outfit you keep sleeping in. See the robe hanging there? See the wig a little crooked? Mine usually is, I confess. I never was a good dresser. Smile at the gavel on the hook. You can pick it up and play a scene, of course you can, but you do not have to call that performance I. For this minute, decline the role. Let the costume dangle without a body in it. Without a wearer, what is a robe but cloth? Without a wearer, what is resentment but motion in air? Outwardly, you will look cold-blooded, still, quiet, like a lake that forgot how to ripple. Inwardly, you will be overheated with love for God and man, because you are no longer feeding hatred its supper. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The world's peace needs a verdict and a bow from the defeated. This peace needs only your non-participation. Charity, divine love, never faileth, not because it wins the argument, but because it refuses to be reduced to argument. If the chest softens, let it soften without commentary. If it doesn't, let it not soften without commentary. We are not chasing feelings, we are withdrawing identity. If the instrument hums, fine. If it creaks, fine. You are the user, not the used. And when, because it will, the story tiptoes back with a legal pad and a polite cough, do not push it away, do not scold it for returning to the scene of non-crime. Say once inwardly, as a signed dismissal, I withdraw the verdict. Then look again from outside the body and allow sensation to be sensation without an owner. The jaw may continue its little sermon, let it preach to the empty robe on the peg. The heart may press its case, let it address the gavel on the wall. You witness for God alone, rest again in the aisle between breaths. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. Not I, the resentful magistrate, not I, the defendant with excellent posture. Christ in me, life as me, unjudging. Resentment weakens exactly here, when you stop using it as a definition of me. Without a wearer, the costume slumps. Without a bench, the judge stands in the aisle and forgets why he came. Die daily, just here, to the self that needs to be aggrieved to be real. The body as instrument will record fewer indictments when you stop dictating them. The mind as instrument will quiet its keys when you stop rehearsing the same score. And if in this very minute there is even the briefest sense that you are not the heat, not the pressure, not the clever script, mark it. That is the God self peeking through the seams already, without effort, without verdict, alive. Now we enter the strange middle country where the air is thin and clear. Impersonal love, not sentimentality, not the sigh that says, poor dear, and secretly begs for a chance to fix, not the hot coal that hisses they must pay and calls it justice. Insulation from pity, insulation from hate. This love is not a mood. It is a refusal to let emotional interchange draft you into roles you were never hired to play savior or warden, nurse or executioner. Charity never faileth, not because it performs well in the theater of feelings, but because it doesn't live there. It lives in God. It does not excuse harm. It withdraws from the inner fantasy that punishing or pitying will heal a single soul. Outwardly cold-blooded, sane boundaries, plain speech, inwardly overheated with love for God and man because you are no longer feeding either side of the fire. Let me cross-examine us gently. Do you think divine love needs your anger to accomplish justice? Do you think the God self of you requires your contempt to be safe in its own universe? When the master faced the storm, did he consult a mood meter? Peace be still, he said, authority without rancor, clarity without scorn. If God is light, what does your heat add but smoke? If God be for us, who can be against us so long as we do not hire ourselves as his deputy and then bill overtime in resentment or sympathy? Be therefore merciful as your Father also is merciful. Mercy here is not a trembling feeling. It is the absence of sentence in the heart. Now the practice. Allow the image of that person, yes, the one, come quietly into awareness, as if a photograph was set on a table. No commentary. No inward speech about what they did or failed to do. Do not send affirmations like a bouquet you hope will prick their conscience. Do not argue the file. Simply notice the label that tends to glue itself to their forehead: villain, betrayer, idiot, saint gone wrong, and remove the label. Slide it back into the drawer. Let the face remain without a name tag. Breathe once as if you had stepped outside your body and were looking kindly at two costumes on two pegs. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That line contains no adjectives. It does not say, Father, forgive the villain. It does not say, Father, forgive my poor dear. It sees without the props. If the mind moves to reattach the tag, sign once, I withdraw the verdict. Then look again, just a face, without a job title in your story. Feel what falls away when the label is gone. The body loses a reason to contract. The heart forgets to audition for judge or nurse. This is the insulation beginning not from people but from roles. Pity secretly requires a victim to be worthy of our goodness. Hate requires a criminal to be worthy of our flame. Impersonal love requires no counterpart. It abides. Abide in me, and I in you. Abide now as presence, not position. Let the breath finish itself. Let the image stay or drift. You do not hold it in place or push it away. And now the deeper relinquishment, because my own cleverness likes to hide here. Release the desire for them to understand, to apologize, to be different in order for you to be free. That desire is a golden chain, beautiful, heavy, reliable, and it keeps you in the yard. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. Not free if they change. Free because the trial ended and the judge went home. Whisper within, if it helps, I will not make my liberty hostage to your behavior. Say it without heat, without halo, just the jurisdiction changing hands again and again until the habit of bondage grows bored and leaves. You are not fixing, you are not punishing, you are not excusing, you are abiding. If action is needed later, it will be clean, no emotional invoice attached. If silence is required, it will be clear, no sulk hiding in a robe. This is the monastic cell carried into the market. No emotional interchange, only presence. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Translated for this minute, do not supply pity to create a debtor. Do not supply hate to create a criminal. Supply nothing but space, God's space, in which both you and the image are released from their costumes. If the mind coughs, if a memory waves a flag, let it wave without saluting. Return once more to the simple signature. I withdraw the verdict. Rest one breath as a witness for God alone. In that breath, measure nothing. No glow required, no apology received. Only this. The inward fire no longer appointed to burn or to warm selectively. Impersonal love freedom from the emotional demand to punish or to fix has taken your seat. Stay seated as it. Now, these last 2 minutes, let us stop improving the silence. No polishing, no spiritual carpentry. Be as you are already aware before any case is built. Notice this bare fact without commentary. Awareness is here. Before the first word convenes a jury, before the first memory rummages the evidence locker, this quiet presence is, you do not make it, you find no switch. It was here while the story spoke, it will be here when the story naps, it is here now, rest as that. If a thought pokes its head through the curtain, do nothing about it. Do not hush it. Do not greet it. Let it fade without a farewell party. There is no prize for the stillest stillness, no ribbon for the most spiritual breath. Achievement is a garment for the courtroom. Leave it on the hook. All that is needed is this simple recognition. I am not the judge rising to speak. I am the life in which even judging appears and disappears. Outwardly cold-blooded, no theatrics. Inwardly overheated with love for God and man. No one on the griddle. Now, quietly, die daily. Not with drama, with refusal. Let the little one who needs a verdict to exist dissolve by lack of employment. We do not execute him. We stop voting for him. Watch how quickly a loud official grows shy when the crowd goes home. Let him stand there with his sash and no audience and watch the badge slide loose. There is nothing to kill because there was no life in that role, only borrowing from you, the living. Return what was borrowed. Let ownership revert to God. If you wish a single inward phrase, let it sound like this. I release the sentence. Bless without emotion. Be still. Let love govern. No heat, no halo. A simple transfer of government, no longer issuing drafts from the little branch bank of retribution or rescue. Let the inner treasury be what it always was. Love without strain, without invoice. Ask yourself just once, and do not wait for an answer. Do I need this verdict to be, or am I before and after any verdict? Do you think the God self of you grows safer when you condemn? Do you think light becomes brighter when it scolds the dark? If a sunbeam argued with a shadow, would the room be improved? There is a gentler authority at hand, the kind that doesn't raise its voice because it is the voice. Let the breath finish itself. Let the shoulders discover they have nothing to carry across the border. Let the face unlearn its habit of court-appropriate dignity. Do nothing. This is not indifference. This is the end of the trial. When no prosecution is convened, there is nothing to defend, and so peace is not purchased. It is recognized. And if, even now, a faint ember of resentment glows in some corner, do not call the fire brigade. Do not measure yourself by it. Notice instead that the compulsion to prosecute has weakened. The gavel lifts and, more often than not, does not land. The jaw remembers it has other hobbies. The heart stops billing overtime. That softening is the opening of grace. Into that opening flows what was never absent, the simple fact of being, God being, the natural state once the noise steps aside. Now, as we close these 10 minutes, do not declare victory, do not declare failure, declare nothing. Keep the doors of the court unlatched and the lights untempered. Walk out as you would from any quiet room, unimpressed with your stillness, impressed with nothing, available to everything. This is resting as God's self, not humanhood. When the inner trial ends, even for a breath, the real is no longer a theory. It is what remains when the judge goes home and the bench remembers it is wood. Now comes the part that ruins the sales pitch for instant enlightenment. The mail will arrive again. The mind, very prompt, very proud, will slide a fresh envelope under your door, marked urgent new evidence. A different angle of the same photo, a witness you forgot to call, a sentence that finally proves your case, not for justice, but for the right to hurt on principle. Recognize the seal. You have seen that crest before, the Honorable Court of Humanhood. Treat it like junk mail, recognized, unopened, discarded. Do you open every advertisement to be polite? Do you try on every costume delivered to your porch? Then why would you open another invitation to sit in a chair that bruised you yesterday? Here is your on-the-spot practice. Make it so simple the mind will call it lazy and be offended. 3 breaths, 1 sentence. Wherever you are, kitchen, car, the holy aisle between 2 meetings, take 1 ordinary breath and let it finish itself. A second, just the same, without heroics. A third, as if you were setting down a small box without a label. Then, inwardly, once and only once, I withdraw the verdict. That's all. No negotiating, no conversation with the letter, no theological embroidery. Resume what is at hand. Wash the cup. Send the email shorter than you wish. Drive the car. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, yea to peace, nay to prosecution. Move on. But what about wisdom? Does refusal to reopen the court mean we ignore fences with holes, accounts with passwords, schedules with bullies? Don't be silly. Outwardly, be clear. Change the password, repair the fence. Speak a plain no without italics or exclamation points. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. That is, serpentine wisdom about the world's arrangements, and dove-like harmlessness about the world's souls, including your own. The difference between wisdom and rumination is easy to test. Wisdom acts once, then rests. Rumination does not act, or acting keeps talking to itself about the act for 13 imaginary futures. Wisdom may make a list. Rumination makes a theater. Wisdom needs no hatred for fuel. Do you think the God self of you runs on rage like a little motorbike? Or do you think the sun needs kerosene to shine? Now probe with me, Socratic and a little rude, because this is where my own halo used to slip. If you retry the case tonight in the privacy of your best chair, what do you gain besides the right to suffer? Do you think the verdict will age into gold by midnight? Will justice arrive more swiftly if you contract your jaw, if you rehearse their speech for them and yours, for you and 3 versions for the angels? What exactly improves? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Which of you, by taking resentment, can add 1 minute of peace? The math is bad, and I used to be good at the 2 times 2 of grievances. I could prove I was right, and then behold, I would receive my reward, a stomach like a fist and a night without sleep. Congratulations, counselor. Case 1, life lost. So we practice refusing to reopen the courtroom of the mind. The envelope comes, 3 breaths, 1 sentence, resume. If an action is truly necessary, it will remain necessary after the breaths. If it evaporates, it was never yours to perform. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whiles thou art in the way with him. Translate it. Agree quickly with reality as it is, not with the theater of what-ifs. Agree that you will not be drafted as prosecutor, defendant, and jury all in one. Consent only to presence. And when the mind protests, because it will, but this time the evidence is different. Smile like a seasoned postmaster. Stamp. Return to sender. Who sent it? Not the God of love. Love does not bill you in arrears for someone else's ignorance. Love governs. Outwardly cold-blooded, simple, clean steps, inwardly overheated with love for God and man, no one in your oven, maintain freedom this ungallant way. By refusing to be interesting to your own courtroom, let the mail pile where junk mail belongs. Keep the bench as wood. Keep your breath as breath. Keep your sentence short. I withdraw the verdict. Then live. Now comes the stern gentleness, the one the ego calls treason. What if they were wrong and you still refuse condemnation? Do you think that releases them from consequence? Or does it release you from being governed by their behavior? Let's twist that Bible upside down and read it right side up. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Overcome is not appease. Good is not a mood. It is the refusal to let wrongdoing appoint itself the governor of your consciousness. Releasing judgment is not denying the event. It is denying the event a throne in your Holy of Holies. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Keep it, not as a museum for injuries, but as the treasury of the living God. Here is the ego's last stand, the hill it loves to die on and resurrect from hourly. If I stop resenting, it means they get away with it. Oh, my dear counselor, I know that hill. I had a tent there, a fine view, and a kettle forever boiling. But hear this, they never had your peace as their rightful possession. They can neither give it nor take it. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. If your serenity depends on their remorse, you have handed them a deed to property they never owned. Who issued that title? You did in humanhood's court. Withdraw it. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Not vengeance as heat, but as divine law, cause, meeting, effect, without you moonlighting as judge, jury, and cosmic bookkeeper. Do you think the God self of you needs your fury to keep the books balanced? Or is your fury the surcharge added by humanhood for services not rendered? Universalism now, or else we are back to the club of favorites. This practice is not for your cousin, whom you already like for her casserole. It is for the stranger who never learned your name, the rival who rolls his eyes, the enemy who will not apologize, and the one who, let's be honest, still owes you 20 years of Saturdays. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, not because they earned it, merit is a courtroom word, but because the God self does not practice tribal affection. Impersonal love does not ask for membership cards. If you reserve your inner non-condemnation only for the repentant, you are still trading in human emotion pity for the penitent, heat for the stubborn. Forgive 70 times 7 is not bookkeeping. It is demolition. It removes the bench from the room. Now the paradox: you must live or you will talk, religion and practice retaliation. Outwardly be exact, inwardly hold no man in condemnation. Cold in method, warm in being. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Change the lock. Say no without italics. Call the authority that protects the weak. Draft a contract with clauses so clear your old accountant self-purrs. And while you do, keep the oven of your heart empty, no one baking in there. Outwardly cold-blooded, clean, swift, unambiguous steps. Inwardly overheated with love for God and man, no inward sentence pronounced. Judge not, and yet judge a situation's facts. Condemn not, and yet act. Do you think mercy means muddle, or that clarity requires rage? The master drove the money changers out. He did not set up a lemonade stand. But listen, even there he held no man as an identity of iniquity. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is the posture of the God self-clarity without enmity. This is spiritual maturity, the end of spiritual adolescence that confuses emotion with power. The child in us wants a gavel. The adult in God sets a boundary and never recruits the heart to hate. Die daily to the little official who thinks resentment is vigilance. Let him keep his crooked wig. Retire him without pension. Keep the bench as wood. Keep your breath as breath. Keep one sentence ready for the next knock on the door. I withdraw the verdict. Then act, if action is needed, as if you were using a fine instrument, a body, a pen, a voice, none of which you live inside. And as you act, remember whose peace is yours. Not theirs to grant, not yours to earn. God's to reveal where the trial has ended. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty to be clear without cruelty, strong without scalding, harmless without naivete. That liberty is your birthright, and no one, wrong or right, has the charter to tax it. Now the part most of us try to skip with a hymn, The Dark Night. I can promise you I've tried to bargain with it, offered it tea, better lighting, a shorter path, and it always smiles and turns off the last lamp. This is the place where resentment, having been your favorite badge, victim, judge, righteous one, slips off, and you look down to find no badge at all. Humanhood calls that a crisis. Spirit calls it the doorway. He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Not your pulse, your life a story, your meaning is Gavel. And the personal self, seeing the prop department closing, cries, this is extinction. Do you think the God self is trembling because your favorite role is out of work? Let's speak plainly. The final black night is not thunder and lightning. It is a quiet in which your last identity, recenter in chief, has no employment. You look for the old outrage to introduce you at parties. There is no party. You look for the inward glare that kept you warm. The oven is off. And the mind reports quite gravely that you must be failing, indifferent, hollow. Blessed are the poor in spirit, said the Master. Poor here does not mean miserable. It means emptied of the junk drawer of self-importance. The night is poor of costume, rich with air. If you squint, you'll miss it. If you rest, you'll discover it is not annihilation, it is anonymity, the sweet kind, no name tag required to be. Now, test it like a good accountant who finally learned to use a living abacus. If resentment disappears, who are you? If you cannot describe yourself by the wrong done to you or by the rightness done by you, who remains? Is the question terrifying. To whom? To the God self? Or to the little clerk who prefers a desk piled with grievances because it looks like importance? Be still and know that I am God. Not be earnest, not be indignant, be still. And in that stillness, watch who panics. It isn't you, it's the costume with no hanger. Here is where the ego gets theatrical. My own used to require a balcony. If I don't ache, I don't care. Do you think divine love needs ache to be alive? Or that justice is improved by inner smoke? When the ache recedes, a clean room is revealed. It will feel plain at first, as if God forgot the furniture. Sit anyway. Accept a corn of wheat, fall into the ground and die. It abideth alone. The seed's dying is not tragedy. It is the condition for roots. Resentment's dying is not apathy. It is the condition for impersonal love to take root. Insulation from pity, insulation from hate. If you miss your old warm smile and put on a sweater, do not relight the oven of condemnation to feel alive. Practical? Yes, starkly. Do not dramatize the discomfort. This is not a pageant. Continue your short practice as unceremoniously as setting down a cup. 3 breaths, 1 sentence, resume. I withdraw the verdict. Die daily, not dramatically, dutifully to the one who needs a verdict to be. The night will make offers, a new speech to prosecute, a softer pity to rehearse. Decline without italics. Outwardly cold-blooded, maintain the boundary, pay the bill, return the call. Inwardly overheated with love for God and man, no one roasting in your heart to prove you care. And if emptiness lingers, treat it as a hallway, not a home. Walk it, don't furnish it. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Through, not into a cul-de-sac with curtains. The shadow here is the shadow of a self that cannot live without a cause. Let it pass across your face. Keep walking as presence without a job title. The more you refuse to rehire the old magistrate, the more you notice a subtler warmth, the kind that does not depend on being right to be bright, quietly, a dawn that is not yours to schedule. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Do not hammer the clock to hasten it. Keep the bench as wood, the breath as breath, the practice as simple as a signature you no longer forge. And when the old roll coughs in the wings, surely you miss me. Bow once, as to an actor after closing night. Thank it for its service. It tried to keep you safe. Then retire it without pension. What remains is not vacancy, it is vacancy's lord. The trial is over, the robe on its peg, and you no longer the judge, no longer the defendant, are what you were before any evidence was filed. I am. Not I, the resentful. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. The threat you felt, only the doorframe brushing your shoulder as you stepped into freedom. Now we come to the small rule that builds a large government. 10 minutes daily for 7 days, no drama, no journaling, no prosecutorial speeches. Choose a time you can actually keep, the humble kind that doesn't require angels to adjust your calendar. Sit as you did a moment ago. Phone asleep. Door unimportant. 10 minutes only. 3 common breaths to begin, and 1 sentence once, if needed. I withdraw the verdict. If the mind parades its evidence, do not cross-examine, do not even read the file. Let the parade pass without candy. You are not refusing intelligence, you are refusing jurisdiction. Keep the bench as wood. For 7 days we do not write the story to make it holier. We do not whisper affirmations as if beauty must be bribed. We do not rehearse future confrontations in kinder adjectives. We practice a cessation, withdrawal of consent from inner condemnation. If a thought returns in costume, smile like a doorman who recognizes a poor disguise. Nod, do not admit. One breath, one signature, resume the quiet. Be still and know that I am God. Not be clever, still. Now, the companion piece. Scripture as a living guide without pedantry, keep the red letters near. A slim New Testament in a pocket or on your phone, not for quotation trophies, but for eyesight. Once a day, read a single line from the Master and then rephrase it in your own language, so it governs, not decorates. Judge not, that ye be not judged, becomes, I resign from the bench today, no sentences issued in my heart. Forgive 70 times 7 becomes, I will not keep books on anyone's debt. I will not be humanhood's accountant. Peace be still becomes, hush, courtroom. Wood is wood, sea is sea. Whisper your rephrasing once, then live it. Do not embroider the words into a banner. Wear them as clear glasses and look, a boundary now, or we will float away and call it holiness. This silence is not permission for passivity. It is training in being unbribable, outwardly cold-blooded, facts-faced, locks changed, schedules kept, a clean no where no is required, inwardly overheated, with love for God and man, no one roasting in your oven to prove you care. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, yea to what is wise, nay to what is harmful, and never hire resentment to push your words across the line. You will discover that action taken without inner poison is stronger, swifter, and leaves no hangover. The serpent's wisdom in method, the dove's harmlessness in motive. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. If you need structure, my old accountant self will be happy. 7 days, 10 minutes, day 8, begin again. One red letter line daily, one homemade rephrasing, one life lived a shade cleaner. Do not rate your stillness on a 10-point scale. The scale belongs to the court we closed. Do not publish your piety. The God self does not invoice. Quietly, a government is forming. The kingdom of God is within you. Its cabinet is love, peace, mercy, none on payroll to resentment. The clerk of grievances arrives, finds no desk, no key, and goes home. This is your commissioning, not to feel spiritual, but to live under new management, the inner government, where condemnation has no charter. 10 minutes a day, 7 days at a time, the same plain sentence when needed. Read the red letters. Rephrase them until they are the lens you look through when you answer the phone. Pay the bill, cross the street, and if in some hour the old judge rattles the door, you know the practice by heart. 3 breaths, 1 sentence. Resume. Love without strain, unhurried, unheeded, unanxious governs. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Walk in it, unbribed, unburdened, uncondemning, and let the bench remain what it is, wood.